that Dylan is a racist. Yeah, exactly. You know how many times he said he hates black people on stream?
Wait, when did he say he hates black people? Whoa, what happened?
You said the analogy was, if you just walked up on the stage and says, I hate black people. I just said it again, right? I hate black people. Is that racist? No, it's not fucking racist. It might be cringe. It might be a fucking idiot.
Okay, so what I would say is regardless of where they're from and where they can trace their lineage, black tends to mean people of a certain skin color, right? So if you say you hate black people, that means that you're hating somebody for something that they cannot change. And that's kind of shitty.
So
that's super shitty.
That's a bias.
It's not a bias. That's racism. That's racism.
Prejudice.
I hate bald people. I hate bald people. I hate bald people.
Bald people is not a race, though. But
I wanted to address more perfect union study that they posted. So one of the things that you said, yes, the date on that study is 1 month or 2 months later than the one that I posted. However, the specific number, you said that it was 51% of black people across the country are vaccinated versus I think it was 58% of all white people. And so what that means is it's only 7% behind. But if you use the previous analysis that is from the same place, the KFF, which is the same source that you were using, if you actually look at the demographic breakdown, that's Democrats and Republicans, since Democrats are 92% of the vaccinated rate by party affiliation, the only reason white people in this country are actually more vaccinated than black people is because of the Democrats.
Josie, you said that 78% of blacks in this country were vaccinated, and I said
it was non-whites. That's what the number was, but you got the actual number. But still, with the partisan breakdown, unvaxxed Republicans are still 3-1 more unlikely to be vaxxed than a black person.
Let's put something in the text.
How do they know that?
Hang on, time out.
Because of the two studies that are in the chat, it's the KFF studies. You can look at.
Yeah, but how did they?
I can share you the methodologies right now.
I just want to know how they found out. Okay, but I'm just asking you, how did they find out if you were black or white? Because when I filled out my little card when I got my COVID shot, it didn't ask me that.
There's a poll worker in there making notes.
I didn't have to say I was Republican.
No.
So what they're doing is they call people.
No, it's a
sample.
All polls, right?
So
they probably sampled.
They sample populations.
2,500 people, and they extrapolate. That's how they do it, right?
I don't know how this one was. I don't know that methodology.
Right. We don't, and that's true. That's a fair point. We don't really know the underlying methodology they use to determine like political affiliation. But when you said that the Democrats, that it's mostly Republicans, there's an assumption there that it's white Republicans, but there are people of color who are Republican as well. And it's not just a tiny bit anymore, right? It's like 15 to 20% of the minority populations vote Republican.
But the only reason there are more white Americans that are vaccinated is because 92% of Democrats are vaccinated. And then the rest, and the reason that it's not like 75% white people is because of the fact that 52% of Republicans are actually vaccinated. I'm just using data. Come on,
you gave us that's misleading. You said 78% of black Americans are vaccinated. You only counted the Democrats. You only used the Democrat model, though. You didn't count the whole America as a whole. And what he gave, the newest data shows that the total is 51%, right?
And I just talked about it.
And
just being clear.
Analysis.
Wait a minute.
I want to be clear.
You're talking about polls. How many polls said that Hillary Clinton was going to win?
Okay, fine. Let's just move on.
I can say you ate too many hamburgers, and the person who had a heart attack on the other side of the hospital, they died because you're too.
Okay, I'll give you a quick rundown. This is like CTV's panel. It's more conservative leaning, which is good for me because I'm tired of arguing with lefties all the time. It's really fun. The majority of the people in here are conservatives, I think, from what I can tell. There are a couple very angry people. There's some very fun people. But yeah, I'm glad we're not arguing about representation in Disney movies anymore.
You could argue the same thing about vaccine mandates because healthcare workers are being fired as a result of vaccine mandates, causing staffing shortages in hospitals, right? And it's gotten so bad that the Biden administration is literally deploying military assets to aid hospitals because they're firing so many nurses and doctors.
It's not because the doctors are getting fired because of vaccines.
It is, Josie.
It's causing a massive staffing
Josie, bullshit.
Can I at least
no, because you're lying.
No, let Josie finish.
She's not lying, though.
A lot of healthcare workers are fatigued of having to continue to deal with the crisis for the last 2 years.
It's true.
And they're tired of having to deal with the people and having, like, that is a till. These healthcare workers are dealing with people dying.
Wait. Let me respond to Josie. But what I'm saying is that there's two parts to this equation. It's not just beds in the hospital. You can argue like beds on a national scale, how many of it are available or whatever, but there's two parts to this equation. If you don't have enough staff to tend to all of the beds, then you're not going to allow people into those beds, correct? So if you have a staffing shortage, it also creates a problem. We have staff shortages.
Why do we need more staff?
Because a lot of them are fired because they are not getting the
That's not the main reason. I forgot I muted.
I just wanted to jump in real quick to discuss this causation question. I think it is true, in fairness to Josie, like as a but-for cause, I would agree with you. If there's overcapacity due to COVID, you could I conceivably call that caused by COVID. But I think the right-wingers have a point that seems too loose of a standard to apply in terms of when we're seeing the actual cause of death. You could say everything is a cause of death in the causal chain, but I think where we should fight them is the actual evidence that these statistics are being abused and that people are over-reporting the number of COVID deaths as opposed to under-reporting them. Oftentimes people are dying of septic shock or heart-related conditions or pneumonia. COVID is causing a lot of these other conditions that we know about. But it's fair to say that those are approximately caused by their COVID. And so, yes, there could be cases here and there where you can always find a hypo where it's outrageous that they attributed it to COVID. But my understanding is that we're worried about underreporting of COVID deaths, not overreporting.
Okay, so from here we're going to Bryce and then to Cam, right? So guys, go ahead.
Yeah, so a couple different things. What Pisco said is not necessarily true because what happens is the SARS-CoV virus causes the disease COVID-19 that everybody has, right? And this disease has a couple other things that can result from it. So if we have a situation where the disease is the specific causal factor of these conditions that actually ultimately lead to the expiration, to them dying, it is still fair for the sake of record keeping and later data analysis and actually doing autopsies and any number of things, it is fair for them to log this as a COVID-19 death because then when they're doing the investigations on the deaths, they can say, oh yeah,
I totally agree with that. Yeah. I don't. I think that the question is the thing that killed you, is that proximately linked to COVID symptom or the COVID disease as we understand its typical manifestations?
Fauci, somebody said there was somebody else that came out. Somebody in the CDC said this the other today, maybe. But I know Fauci said it the other day that especially children are coming into the ICU with perhaps a broken arm or something like that, and they immediately get tested for COVID-19 because apparently that's what happens when you go into I haven't been to the ICU since the pandemic, so apparently this is what happens when you go into the ICU. They immediately test you for COVID-19, and even if that kid is there with no symptoms and a broken arm, they are put down as a COVID hospitalization, and that goes towards that data. So that is absolutely, I think, an over-report.
Let's not conflate. One question is, in terms of death, what are you putting down on the death certificate that's being counted by these organizations? The other is, in terms of hospitalization, what you're saying is true. I just spoke with someone who worked in the labor delivering babies, and if the pregnant woman has COVID, they're counted in the hospitalization, with COVID.
Yeah,
I think that is true, and that's a hard line for hospitals to draw. And I understand that those numbers might indeed be skewed, but the question in terms of, I think, is a little different with death.
Right. The only thing I would say in response is that we already had a shortage of healthcare workers prior to the pandemic. healthcare workers were already getting fucked over prior to the pandemic. So when the pandemic happened, we not only have people dying from COVID, we also have people who are experiencing burnout from the long hours that they have to work. We're having people who are retiring early or leaving their jobs early because it's just not worth it for them. We have people who are experiencing I believe it's something with empathy fatigue, right? Something like that. And so yeah, it's rough, 100%.
And I agree.
But it's already been. But to be blaming it all on the vaccines. I'm sorry. If you work in healthcare, you should know that you have a duty, especially if you're working around people who are immunocompromised, to get the vaccination. And if you're not doing that, then you don't deserve to be working in the health field. That's my opinion. And I don't give a fuck. Like, I will die on that hill. If you have people around you, if you're surrounded by people who are immunocompromised, you're not going to get the fucking vaccine, you're going to make those people die. So yeah, that you should be required to get a fucking vaccine if you're a healthcare worker.
So Stardust, where was that energy 3 years ago? Where was that energy when you were 10? Where was that energy when you were a kid? You've lived your whole life never being this afraid of a common cold. And the reason I'm going to say that is because that's the CDC's admitted. Again, my time.
You're lying. You're fucking lying. That's why, though.
Yep,
you can't call it a fucking common cold. Are you kidding me? Seriously? You're gonna call it a common cold? Are you dumb? Holy shit, dude.
My time. Interrupt again.
Well, I mean, you did kind of specifically.
The American Medical Association defines it under the common cold category in their newest fucking print. Talk to me about science again. What are you telling me? All right, Stardust, tell me this. Is it man-made or is this nature? Because you said it was nature. And if it's nature, there's nothing the government can do. There's nothing the government can... Hang on, Dylan. That's not even... You need to be quiet on this one. Because either y'all are going to admit that it's man-made or you're going to say it's nature. And there's nothing our government could fucking do in time if nature decides to rid us of the earth. Because nature's going to do what it fucking does.
All right, let me...
hang on, Stardust. You could laugh, but I asked you a simple question. Where was your energy 3 years ago? From 10 years old till 3 years ago? Because I guarantee you weren't out here going, oh my God, everybody put a mask on, get a jab in the arm to protect me from getting sick. You weren't doing it.
Okay, let me respond. Before anybody else jumps in here, let me respond, okay? I know you all want to jump in. Don't fucking do it, all right? Okay, so... 3 years ago, if there was a pandemic, I would still be saying that healthcare workers should get fucking vaccinated, okay? The reason why they need to get vaccinated is because they work in the healthcare field. If you have people with cancer who are getting treatment for that and they're immunocompromised, if they get COVID, they're gonna fucking die because of you. So yeah, you should get fucking vaccinated. Don't fucking interrupt me. Don't interrupt me. Don't interrupt me. Don't interrupt me. Shut up. Don't you dare interrupt me. Shut the fuck up, okay? Let me finish. If you work in the fucking healthcare field, you need to get vaccinated, okay? If you don't want to get vaccinated, you're going to be directly responsible for killing people. All right, I hope you're fucking proud of that. I hope none of you work in the fucking healthcare field if you're not getting vaccinated. Secondly, 3 years ago, we did not have COVID. The common flu, yeah, we used to get flu shots, but the flu was not nearly as contagious as COVID is. The reason why people are getting vaccinated is because COVID is so much more contagious. COVID can cause people with already compromised health conditions to die. And it's not just, and it's not, wait, let me finish. Let me fucking finish. You will not fucking interrupt me, okay? It's not only causing people with prior healthcare conditions. Don't fucking interrupt me. I'm sorry. I don't give a fuck. Okay. If it doesn't make people already with those pre-existing conditions die, it is also making people who survive it have long-term health consequences. So I think that it's pretty important that you, as a fucking medical professional, I'm not talking about the general population, just as a fucking medical professional, and I will yell however much I want to. Men yell all the time and they don't get told not to yell. Okay? So, again, if you are a healthcare worker, if you are a
Shut the fuck up
All right? I've had enough of this fucking, like, let's just see how much we can test her, right? You're testing my fucking patience, to be frank. So let's not fucking do that.
If you...
Stardust.
Thank you. If you are part of the general population, my vaccine mandate is not for you. But if you work in the fucking healthcare field, you should have known what you were getting into. You take whatever risks you need to do your job. And if that means you're getting a fucking vaccine that's been studied for 30 fucking years, that's what you're gonna fucking do.
What about the 3 years ago? I'm just asking.
I already answered you.
I
already answered you. Yes, healthcare workers get vaccines all the fucking time.
Listen, 3 years ago,
they do.
Girlfriend, 3 years ago, nobody was fucking dying from anything different. Guess what? Life was still doing it.
Yes, they
And there was a pandemic before this. It was called the swine flu.
God, swine flu. Swine flu lasted for like 1 month, dude. In comparison to this.
This is a pandemic. This is a pandemic that we are starting to learn.
A pandemic. Whether it's planned or not, my dude, you as a healthcare worker need to get fucking vaccinated.
Nature, there's a thing called natural immunity that you guys don't want to discuss, nor did we even research. Because realistically, we have learned that all these conspiracy dumbass fucks like me who said this virus has been around since 2019 and we were told we were fucking idiots, it's been around since October of 2019 publicly. So that means it was in America by December and January, 3 months before they started even looking at it or reporting it. You know why I know? Because my own son got sick. And I told y'all this story, but now y'all don't want to hear all this shit. So let me give you the second story. I'm a disabled vet. I was disabled by a fucking anthrax vaccine or the actual inoculations I received in the military. I am documented. They pay me. I get paid for that injury that fucking was given to me from a vaccine. So if you guys want to sit here and go toe-to-toe with why, take a look at what our government has done in our past, and then you'll understand what I'm trying to explain to you. Anytime you're forcing anyone from a power, from a position of authority to do anything, you are literally going against everything y'all all have been preaching for the past 2 fucking years. And when I say nature or natural, I'm saying there's nothing the government can do fast enough if nature decides to rid us off this fucking earth, because people die every day out of unnatural causes, or I'm sorry, not unnatural. They say it's natural causes because they can't fucking explain it. So y'all's fear shouldn't be weighing on us anymore. We've let y'all be in fear for 2 fucking years and we're done. Y'all are going to realize that we were right the whole time, and the only way out of this is if we wouldn't have done anything at all and not tried to prolong this 2 week, let's just get this 2 weeks under. This was Fauci's game from day one, and the Democrats have even acknowledged it, because you look at 2019, they were sitting on a panel, and they said we just need to blow the whole healthcare system up with a pandemic, and they literally laid out what they've done.
Okay, 45 seconds up. Let's go Geek, Stardust, Roadman, MPU, Bry. Let's go that way.
All right, real quick. I don't know if it's like natural against like man-made.
You know what? Dylan never did get to speak earlier, right?
All right, Dylan, go.
Okay, so the evidence he's putting forward for the pandemic is extremely loose, to say the least. When you think of something like a pandemic that kills millions upon millions of people, shut down the entire country, and we don't really get a paper trail. We don't really get all these testimonies coming forward. We have so many news organizations that would love for this.
Hey, thank you guys for the subs and for the bits. Also, Dr. Octobang, thank you for joining us.
I'm sure the Chinese have it, and I'm sure it'll never be uncovered. And there's no such thing as a Chinese blower.
Commies
and in fact,
commies protect.
Fucking... I haven't talked in 30 minutes, okay? I've been counting. I haven't talked in 30 minutes. Let me speak, okay? So, actually, in China, there's things called whistleblowers. In fact, at the start of the pandemic, there was a whistleblower that actually let other Chinese medical professionals know about what they were seeing in the early SARS-CoV development, and they had their house raided because of it. Now, you can say, well, actually, we have all the evidence that this was planned and that millions died because it was planned and shut down economies, all this, and all the documents exist in a vault in China that we'll never see.
Wait.
What, Danabo? What?
I just wanted to interrupt you like everyone did Stardust. That's all.
It's a pretty catchable cold by everybody, and it gets deep in your lungs and causes pneumonia, or can help cause pneumonia, or it can exist with pneumonia. I haven't figured that part out, and the CDC hasn't explained it yet. But like, that's what I'm trying to understand, guys. The survival rate of all the way, even with the people with comorbidities, is so high. Like, really, really high. Is it not?
It's 98+%.
More transmissible, and
you're looking at it entirely.
It's not.
I understand it's highly transmissible. I'm not arguing that, but guys, if it's 98% survivable,
that's a lot of people.
You didn't really even notice. Stardust.
It doesn't matter because it's that much worse than all these other things we've faced in recent years, because we literally have millions dead. We saw Italy get ravaged by it. We saw India get ravaged by it. I'm pretty sure plenty of other countries are great examples of people who got ravaged by it. I understand that the average person in this call maybe has not experienced it as much firsthand, because in the U.S. we tend to be more dispersed amongst people. We're not as concentrated as far as populations go in certain areas, but it still is something very serious. And whether it is man-made or natural, now I lean on the side of natural, but whether it is or not, it doesn't matter. If you work in the healthcare field, it is your duty to be taking the risks
What if
that
they
are
have-
so. It doesn't
what if
matter.
They build the natural immunity.
It doesn't matter.
What if they have natural immunity?
Okay, I will answer your question, okay? If they have natural immunity doesn't last forever. That's why they have to get vaccinated and they have to get boosters. So, yes, if you work in the healthcare field, it is your duty, it is your responsibility to get vaccinated. If you are not if you are not willing to do that much, you do not deserve to be around people who need you for care. You do not deserve to be around people who are immunocompromised. I'm sorry, you don't deserve to do that. If you're not willing to take the proper steps to make sure that your patients are okay, then you don't deserve to be in the healthcare field.
And I can tell you that if you're unwilling to service anybody because you feel their condition is unserviceable because of the way your morals are, then you are not taking the Hippocratic Oath as a doctor either.
No, doctors and nurses, they still will treat people who don't get vaccinated. But if you are a healthcare worker, then you have to get vaccinated.
The worker is a patient as well. Do you understand that?
Yes, if the worker goes to the hospital because they are so sick from COVID, they will get treated. But the hospital is not obligated to keep them employed if they can't do the basic minimum of getting vaccinated.
Definitely, there was an Israeli study that showed that natural immunity is about 17 times, something like that, more effective than the vaccine itself. So with all these things known, I don't think we should be mandating anything on any healthcare worker. I think if you want to get the vaccine, that's great. I've always been that way. I think everybody in this call, most people here are going to say, if you want to get the vaccine, go ahead and get the vaccine. However, when the government themselves is going to mandate I get something, that is where the problem is. That is where this big argument is. And people want to just say, oh, you're an anti-vaxxer, you're this, and that. But the real core issue is I don't want to be mandated to take a vaccine.
Just so you guys know, the American College of Preventive Medicine recommends mandatory vaccinations against hepatitis B, influenza, measles, mumps, rubella, pertussis, and varicella for healthcare workers. So I think that's pretty important. If you are not willing to get vaccinated, then you do not deserve to work in the healthcare field. You signed up for that. You know what risks you're taking. And you know that the vaccine is meant not just to protect other people, but it protects you too.
They are doing the same thing that these vaccines are doing. They're attacking the spike protein. And also, you want to know like how and why they call it the coronavirus? I think you should look into that. So the spike protein binds to the ACE2 in human cells, right? And the reason why they know that it's not man-made is because the way that the hooks are specifically binding to human cells is something that happens as a cause of like evolution, something that naturally occurred. And this is just because this virus naturally occurred does not equate one-to-one to there being antibodies in human bodies that would be causing like a natural immunity to this. Some of the quick things really quick, like the myocarditis symptoms and the menstrual cycle stuff, these aren't substantive enough for us to stop vaccine use. There's something that could be like cause for study, but we have drugs that have all kinds of side effects. We have lots of drugs that are super, super important that in some really small cases, just like this, can have negative and bad consequences, but we still widespread use those drugs.
All right.
I feel like we're kind of going in circles here because, like, there's nothing else for me to really be able to say except I do agree with Stardust. Like, if you're working in the healthcare field, it is your duty to treat the patients around you. And part of that, I believe, is if you're going to not be vaccinated and you could potentially spread that to someone who's immunocompromised, I think there could be some type of liability issue there, too. Like, what if someone's in the hospital and they're not sick with COVID, they're sick with something else, your ass ends up giving them COVID, and then they end up getting worse and they end up dying. I think it's just nonsensical.
No, that's been happening our whole life. That's been happening your whole life.
But just because it's been happening our whole lives doesn't mean that we shouldn't do something to try to fix it. It's kind of like when you were making an argument of the natural immunity and stuff, saying that the government can't do anything.
You can't fix it. You can't.
Does that mean that we're not supposed to try?
No, I'm not saying that, but you got to be realistic. You guys won't answer the simple question.
We have to mitigate the amount of people that get sick.
Healthcare workers that they need to be vaccinated.
But
what they can kill someone else.
Okay, so Cam, you had something to say next?
You're muted.
Muted. Bro, you're muted.
Come on.
You're muted in
I
Discord.
was following up with a question.
No,
I'm sorry.
no.
Sorry.
I want to be able to open the fucking room back up. That's what I want. But right now, I can't because everybody wants to say something. Which means that I have to have complete and authoritarian control over the fucking room in order to fucking make everybody have a chance to be able to have their say. What I want is for me to not have to do that, and for me to be able to sit back in my chair, right, be able to fuck with my phone, send out some banger fucking tweets, right, and be able to relax and have a good conversation happen around me. That's whenever my job is easy. But right now, I'm right here, okay? Cam, you got Discord figured out now, brother? Thanks. All right.
Yeah, I got it. Okay, so who was it? So Breeze said that, like he compared it to drugs with side effects. Sure, I think that would be completely analogous if we were talking about the vaccine in general and not just vaccine mandates, which I don't know. I'm having like the way this is going so many ways that like it's hard to even follow what the fuck we're talking about anymore. But if we're talking about vaccine mandates, I don't think that's analogous because nobody is mandating that you take certain drugs. Stardust, I don't know how we're doing this. I guess I can't really ask you a question, but you said that you're okay with a small minority of healthcare workers having to leave because they won't get vaccinated. And I generally agree with you that I think that healthcare workers should get vaccinated, right? I think that it's something they should do if they're dealing with people who might be immunocompromised. But I think there become some issues when we have government mandated vaccines, especially for COVID. So like, let's say 50% of healthcare workers in this country decided they just were not going to get the vaccine, but there was this vaccine mandate. I don't think that you guys would be okay with a mass exodus of 50% of the healthcare workers in this country.
But it's not 50%. It's 97% or something. 98% of healthcare workers are fine with getting the vaccine.
Okay, so
okay. It was a hypothetical.
Yep, your hypothetical sucked, right? So you created contention in the room. We're moving on. Aircraft Sparky, take it away.
Vaccines are for the individual, not for the group. This vaccine does not prevent the spread, nor does it prevent you getting it. It helps alleviate the symptoms. So getting the vaccine, I get your idea, Stardust, but that's never been a thing. If the employer wants for the person, for the healthcare workers to get a vaccine, they make that requirement. But overall, in the medical community, it is understood vaccines are for individual protection, not for protection of their patients. So I get what you're saying. I mean, that's up to the employer, not the state, to determine, in my opinion. And that's where
the full mortality for COVID since its inception in the United States is this fucking really, really tiny fucking number. Less than 2/3 of what the flu is. Okay? That's the fucking rate for 800,000+ deaths and 57 million cases. That's the fucking mortality.
Okay. Geek, you didn't really get to say any point. Make it snappy.
All right, real quick. Mortality rate is one thing, but it's not everything. It's a neurotoxic disease which can give you long-term effects. So I think those rates are also to take in account. And also, when it comes to the vaccine, Yeah, sure. It doesn't like stop you from dying. It doesn't stop you from like spreading it and everything. It reduces the chance, and it reduces the chance of you getting like a long-term effect or being hospitalized and everything. That's a huge deal. Stop saying like it's just reduced. Like that's a big fucking deal. Like reducing your chance of dying or being hospitalized or having long-term effect is a big deal. It's not just something. It's a big point. Anyway.
It's your body, your choice. You make your own decision. Masking, no masking, vaccination, no vaccination. It's none of my fucking business. I have a daughter who's an educator and is in the school system, right? I have parents that have been on hospice and palliative care for the past 2 years. My mother-in-law was hit by a car on January 8th of 2020. So when you want to talk to me about comorbidities and worries and all this other shit, everything you want to give me, I'm with you. Here's the issue. There's nothing a government can do or could have done to shorten that window. I got COVID during the window before a vaccine was available. I got COVID. No vaccine was available. I had comorbidities. You know what they told me? Take some ibuprofen. Go home and take some ibuprofen if you get sore. Only come back if you get shortness of breath. That's all they can do. And guess what they're doing now? The same thing. And you know why we're having an overload? Because we have all become pussies as a fucking generalized public. Oh my God, my nose is running and I have a fucking headache. It's on the CDC website as a comorbidity problem for fucking COVID. COVID's going to kill me. We are literally living like pussies. 3 years ago, y'all didn't have this energy. Hey, if you want to tell me you had this energy 3 years ago, I would love to know about some of your stories from high school or college, because I guarantee you drank after somebody you didn't know and you kissed a stranger. But y'all want to act all moral high ground, just like now it fucking matters what y'all matters what y'all health look like.
Redneck,
Come on with it, man. Come on.
This is the thing, Redneck. All right, so you say there's nothing the government could have done to protect us in that window, as if that's a reason why we shouldn't have reacted the way we
I didn't say we shouldn't react. The problem is that you guys are saying the whole world needs to change. I'm not saying it, Steve. Don't put your perception on it. You're not hearing my point.
I know. I'm hearing you. I'm just telling you. I'm telling you what it sounds like.
I'm going to tell you with the facts, though. What can anyone do to protect you from a disease that is in nature that pops up all of a sudden? Where's the window?
Okay, so what does that have to do with it? Why do we care about this window in the first place?
We didn't do shit for people with AIDS. We didn't even lock this down with AIDS, and AIDS was highly. They didn't even know what the fuck AIDS was.
A lot different than COVID. That's like an autoimmune fucking virus.
Yeah, that's hugely different. And a couple things.
But bro,
really quick.
I don't think it shut down the world.
Because it wasn't being spread.
Yeah, because
it wasn't being transmitted through spit.
They didn't know how it was being spread. You understand this?
They did. They found out how it was being spread, and they didn't care.
You don't want to say where were you at 3 years ago? Where was your energy 3 years ago before COVID?
It's wild.
Because nothing has changed.
It's wild that people like have a different fucking outlook on the world when we're in the middle of a global pandemic. Oh my God! Like people have changed their ideas about like whether or not they're going to be like super fucking healthy and try and avoid catching a virus when there's literally a virus going around that's fucking killing people, shutting down entire fucking nations, getting rid of overloading hospital beds, right? It's fucking weird.
Talking points, Viv. You came on here just to keep your talking points going. It's bullshit. This is all bullshit.
All you're doing is providing talking points. Welcome to a fucking
I am literally sharing actual fucking true stories from human beings out here. Those of us that got COVID naturally, haven't been vaxxed, and are still alive and kicking. Those of us that have made our own choices and don't want a government to tell us what to do and how to do it. Are you fucking kidding me?
I'm glad about your anecdotes. I'm talking about
anecdote. Everybody makes decisions in life based on their anecdotes.
It's totally fine.
I don't make my decisions based on personal anecdotes. Actually, I try
and read what everybody tells you to say, and you just repeat them like a fucking.
You're cutting everybody off.
No, I read studies. I look at the data reports.
My floor. I'm not getting asked questions. I had fucking asked Vivian come in here and start interrupting.
Real quick, Redneck. Real quick, Viv. Everybody, just started to sound like you had a question for Redneck.
Just a general statement. Yes, it's too Redneck. Yeah, I respect your right as an individual to choose to not get the vaccine. But what I'm specifically talking about is healthcare workers. That is their job.
But they have the same rights as me.
They have a duty, right? They have a duty.
They have a duty.
Hang on, guys. They had the same duty a year ago. They had the same duty 3 years ago. They had the same duty 6 months ago.
And they still got hepatitis shots, and they still got other shots. and flu shots.
Stardust, please, slow down. Understand that your fear is speaking. And
it's
nothing
not my
more.
fear.
This isn't fear.
It is your fear.
It's not.
Their job.
I used to work in the healthcare industry.
They are exposed to. We are all healthcare workers. We care about each other. We wash our fucking hands after everything we do.
I used to work. No, I used to work.
Stop. Come on, redneck. Come on.
What? If we want to do anecdotes,
I don't want to hear this. Like, but we're all healthcare workers. Whenever there's definitely a legal fucking framework that Stardust is operating her fucking narrative around, right? So you don't get to just colloquially say, "Well, we're all," and then just misunderstand on fucking purpose.
Make my point, CTV. Don't tell me how to make my point. Don't tell me.
I'm not making your fucking point. I'm pointing out that by you trying to make the point that way seems very fucking disingenuous.
You jumped in before I finished the fucking point. So how the fuck do you know where I'm going with it?
Now, forget transracialism. We're doing trans healthcare workers.
I don't know why we spend so much time addressing redneck's fucking stupidity.
This is bullshit.
I feel like we can just allow him to say his rant. Nobody's going to take him seriously.
I want to say my thing too. Wait, Vivian.
I said washing hands matters too. It helps all of us not be exposed to all these dangers, so then we don't overload the fucking healthcare system. You know what's happened to your generation? You guys all had these sanitizers. We didn't have those sanitizers when we were kids. We drank out of rubber water hoses and ate fucking dirt. But you guys have over sanitized yourself, and your mommy and daddy gave you a shit ton of Benadryl.
Yeah,
and mommy and daddy put you in a shit ton of interrupt. Your mommy and daddy's gave you a shit ton of Benadryl to put you out of sleep, and you guys had become so hyperventilating about a cold sore or a fucking nasal drip or a headache that you have to go to the hospital. You don't understand. You guys are sitting here just talking.
I call dibs. I call dibs when he's done. Okay. First off, shut up. No, my turn. Okay. Don't interrupt me. Okay. So, if you're gonna operate off of anecdotes, right? I have known personally plenty of doctors and plenty of nurses who retired not because of the vaccine mandate, but because other people are not getting vaccinated. They are getting blown the fuck out at the hospital, and they're experiencing fatigue. And they're experiencing empathy fatigue. So I think that's really bad for the healthcare system. Secondly, we are not all healthcare workers. I'm sorry. That's not true.
That's the take I was making. I said we could all help healthcare workers.
You literally said, let me finish. Verbatim. Did you not say we're all healthcare workers?
It was minors.
If you phrased it badly, just say that you phrased it badly.
Wash our hands. Jesus
if you phrased it badly, just say you phrased it badly. We are not all healthcare workers. Okay.
No, okay. Cleanliness, bodily, taking care of yourself.
Okay, secondly, wait. I'm not finished yet, actually.
Because you think your fucking head hurts and it's COVID.
Thirdly, for your information, I did drink out of a water hose. I went to India like every summer as a kid. I got food poisoning every summer. I got like sick out of my mind, and I had to get like a fucking anal suppository up until I was like 8 to stop me from vomiting.
Really bad over there? Sanitation was really bad.
The water was really bad. The water was not good.
A lot of people died from COVID, right?
No, that's not. That is not. No, when you no. Actually, when you live in India, if you live in India, you get acclimated to the food and the water there. So I didn't live there. When I would go there, because I was not acclimated to the water and I was not acclimated to the food there, I would get sick. So, for your information, don't make any fucking assumptions about my growing up, because you don't know shit about me, okay? You don't know the shit that I've been through, and you don't know shit about me and as far as how sick I've gotten. I got dengue fever from a fucking mosquito, okay? That was not fun. Okay, thirdly...
Look, he's... generalization. You're attacking his generalization with
his generalization was directed at me. It was directed at me, so I don't fucking appreciate that. My mom did not give me Benadryl to go to sleep, okay? So you can shut your fucking mouth, okay? Fourthly, if you're a healthcare worker, I'm sorry, you better get fucking vaccinated, because we've been getting vaccinated since the beginning of, I don't know, whenever. It's been a requirement for people who work in hospitals to get a certain amount of vaccinations, and certain vaccinations that are easily preventable by vaccinations. So Yeah.
I love how you got so loud and angry when you realized you just made my point for me, so you started deflecting it and getting real pissy loud.
What point?
Like
What point? What point? What point, bro? I've been loud this entire fucking time. The reason I got loud is because this motherfucker over here decided to tell me that I'm getting personal when you were personal about me. Don't direct your stupid little generalizations at me. You don't know the fucking life that I've lived, okay? You don't fucking know me. I don't make assumptions about you. You don't make assumptions about me, okay?
If you're in the audience right now, I want you to take a deep breath, right? We're gonna get this back to the me parts of conversation. Okay? I know it's coming, y'all. Okay? I got faith. Danabo, who said that he couldn't raise his hand because he didn't have his camera on. We're gonna throw it to Danabo, and then we're gonna throw it to Bri. We're gonna see where we end up. Right? Because I don't have a fucking planned topic, right? This is the Wolfpack chat. We're just all sitting here talking, right? Which is why it does get rather frustrating for me. You know what I mean? So, Danabo, go ahead.
I don't have something different. I just wanted to say I completely agree with Redneck and that mandates are racist.
You fucking
Can I say something really quick? I just want to clarify. That Redneck, please don't take anything personally. I just give back the heat that people give to me. That's all. So I have fun with arguing. So yeah.
Take it personally. I think you're a fucking asshole.
Okay, good.
I didn't.